We are less than a week away from the scheduled summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The U.S. and the West want North Korea to abandon its nuclear weapons program. North Korea might want the U.S. to pull all or some of its troops out of South Korea. Tonight, national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin looks at that relationship and what those changes might mean.
There is no change. Everything's steady.
Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, en route back from a defense conference in Singapore, spent much of his time reassuring allies that the U.S. would not be discussing the removal of U.S. military forces from Korea in exchange for North Korea shuttering its nuclear program.
I'll say it again. I'm not making news here. I'm the same thing. They're not going anywhere. It's not even a subject of the discussion.
The president tweeted today, quote, "Meeting in Singapore with North Korea will hopefully be the start of something big. We will soon see." Some South Koreans suggest such a grand bargain should be on the table. Michael O'Hanlon of the Brookings Institution suggests such a discussion needs to occur, but not at this summit.
These conversations are starting partly because President Trump has said some things that make people wonder if he might be willing to make this kind of a grand bargain. And we know that he's not as enamored of some of America's alliances as his predecessors.
The U.S. maintains 24,915 active duty troops in South Korea. In the event of a war, the U.S. is committed by treaty to send up to 690,000 additional U.S. forces to reinforce South Korea, along with 160 naval vessels and 2,000 military aircraft. South Korea has the largest standing ready military of any of America's 60 allies, but even that army is half the size of North Korea's conventional forces. The Heritage Foundation's James Carafano says it is cheaper to keep U.S. troops in South Korea than bring them home.
Japan and South Korea bear much of the sustainment costs of facilities in Northeast Asia, so American taxpayer doesn't pay for all this stuff.
The White House announced the location of the summit today, the Capella Hotel on Sentosa Island in Singapore, a five-star resort. The meeting will begin at 9 a.m. Even that took days to negotiate. Brett?
Jennifer Griffin live at the Pentagon. Jennifer, thank you.